let's start with service models of cloud. Okay, so first of all, let me explain you. So have you guys ever heard about infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, software as a service, or service models about cloud computing? Have you guys ever heard about it? No. Okay. Anyone? Anyone over here? You have? So what is as a service in that? Okay. Anything else? Anything. Okay, so let me tell you what exactly as a service is. Imagine you are in Jaipur right now and you want to go to Mumbai, and there's no relative of yours who's living in Mumbai, and you want to go there. And so, what do you think? Like, you're gonna first buy a property, then create a house on top of it, and then you're gonna go over there and then you're gonna live, or what you're gonna do? What? You're planning to go to Mumbai, right? And when you're planning to go to Mumbai, do you think that you'll have to buy a property in order to stay in Mumbai? So what you'll have to do? You can rent a hotel. You can have a room at a hotel, or you can rent a place for some while. That's exactly what you'll do, right? But what about the applications or the platforms? Whenever we want to create an application, we first buy the infrastructure, we then create a platform on top of it, and then we deploy the application on top of it, and then we start using it. Don't you think that's a waste of time and waste of money? So if I want to create an application, first I need the hardware as a server, then I'll create a platform on top of it, and then I'll deploy the application on top of it, and then my users are going to use that application. Don't you think that's a waste of time? That's similar to buying a property in Mumbai. Even if you want to go Mumbai for some while, or you do not even know for how long you're going to be in Mumbai. So which decision is better, to buy a property, or to rent a property? Rent a property. So it's exactly similar when it comes to cloud computing. Whenever you rent the computing resources, it comes into cloud service models. So if you're renting the hardware part, the infrastructure part, that comes into infrastructure as a service. So you want a server. So instead of buying a high processing computer or a high configuration computer, give me a second. I think there are two more people are waiting to join. Yeah, good. So, whenever you want an infrastructure, whenever you want a server, or you want a high processing computer, whatever it is it really required for you to buy the hardware and then integrate it together and create a system? No, you do not need that. What you can do is you can rent that server, or you can rent that computer from someone, or from a cloud vendor which is providing infrastructure as a service. So let me take an example of Amazon AWS, right? How many of you know about Amazon AWS? Many of them, or many of you? Okay. So Amazon AWS provides infrastructure as a service. So what that means is that if you want five Xenon processors of this particular configuration, instead of buying those processors and then integrating it together and then maintaining it and doing everything, what you can do is you can create an Amazon AWS account, and over that you can have those processors, or you can rent those processors over there, and you only have to pay for the time when you're using it. Make sense? So that's exactly what infrastructure as a service is. And before infrastructure as a service, I just want to tell you that cloud computing is nothing but accessing resources remotely. That's all what it is. So if you are accessing hardware remotely, or if you're using hardware or infrastructure remotely, then it comes under infrastructure as a service. Is that clear to all of you? Cool. So over here it's written as IaaS provides. So infrastructure as a service, we the short form of it is IaaS, right? Abbreviation, or you can say. IaaS provides access to fundamental resources such as physical machines, virtual machines, storage, etc. All of the above resources are made available to the end user via server virtualization. Moreover, these resources are accessed by customer as if they own them. So if you want a high processing computer or a supercomputer, let's say, instead of buying the hardware and then integrating and maintaining it, having the team to deploy the platform, you can rent it from Amazon AWS, and you'll only have to pay for how much you're using and for how much time you're using that, That's all what it is, right? So, but don't you think like how we can do that? So like, okay, we are we are accessing those resources remotely. But when we access those, so like if I say that I want 10 Xenon processors with this configuration and this thing, so do they create a system for you and attach a wire so that you can access it? They do not do that, right? So what they do is they've got like processors, they've got racks and racks of processors. They've got a complete data center and everything. So what they do is, with the help of server virtualization, let me tell you what exactly virtualization is. Virtualization is basically uh, showing you it in a way that it actually does not exist. So so like the resources, give me a second. Oh. So over here, I've got the infrastructure. So if like imagine you want 5 processors or something. So these 5 processors will be allocated to you for certain time when you're using it. You might be thinking that these processors are only used by you or only these are booked for you or something like that. No one else can use it. But it's actually a multi-tenant environment where other users, like if she wants 2 processors, so one can be this and one can be this. It can be like that. So we all the users, all the clients, all the tenants of like Amazon AWS are sharing it amongst each other in such a way that they think that it's their own and they own it, but it's not like that. They all are sharing it together. It's similar like Uber. We all are using Uber, right? In Uber you feel like he's your own driver, he or she, whatever it is, he's or she is your own driver. The car in which you are, it's your own, but it's actually what you guys are sharing. So you want to go from one place to another, why to buy a car? You can use a Uber, right? So that's exactly how it goes with service, cloud service models. And number one is what? Infrastructure as a service, where you take the infrastructure, take the hardware as a service. Make sense? Cool. Okay. uh, then the characteristics of like infrastructure as a service. Virtual machines with pre-installed softwares, virtual machines with pre-installed operating systems such as Windows, Linux, and Solaris. On-demand availability of resources. The computing resources can be easily scaled up and down. So let me give you a simple use case. So whenever your results gets announced in whichever university you are, how many times this happens that you're not able to see your result? Almost every time, right? Why this happens? Server crashed, you are in queue, this and that. This happens every time, right? Why do you think this happens? What? Exactly, because of high load. And what exactly load is? When a computer is able to process 5 to 10 requests per second, but it is getting more than that, and then it gets confused, like whether I should take this request or respond to that one or do what. Then it is like, okay, I cannot do anything. It's a lot for me. That is exactly what happens, right? So like if this is happening and everyone knows that the load on the server is high when the results are announced, then why aren't they solving it? What do you think? Why aren't they solving it? Like which resources? They can buy the resources, but that obviously includes the cost, like increases the cost of buying the server and buying the infrastructure has its own cost. More, and even like not only the cost, but the thing is, like in an year, how many times the results gets announced? 2 times for one semester for 1 year, right? If there are 4 years, then 8 times. And if there are like 3 or 4 degrees, then in that case, you can again multiply it by 4. So it's like 8 into 4 is how much? 36, I guess. What it is? 32? 32. So 32 out of 365. So the resources are going to be used only 32 times or 32 days out of 365 days. So is it something that you see uh, like are you going to get the return on the investment? I don't think so. And it's not much of the use when it comes to this. So in that case, what they should do is, give me a second. Yeah. So what they should do is they should host their server onto infrastructure as a service platform like Amazon AWS. And whenever the results are getting announced, just a day before, if the load on the server gets increased, is getting increased, they should scale up the resources that they've got. So like imagine if they've got 2 processors right now, and if the load gets increased, they can like scale it up to 8 or to 10. So for 2 days, when the results are getting announced, they can scale the resources up, and then when the results are announced, now the load is less, they can scale it down back down to that. So they'll be paying only for those 2 days for rest of the processes. So when you're using infrastructure as a service, it's easier for you to scale up the resources and scale them back down. That's what an advantage is. But once you buy the hardware, is it possible for you to scale that down? It's already bought. You cannot do anything about it. So it's pay per use when it comes to cloud computing. Yeah, when it comes to cloud service models, over buying your own infrastructure. Make sense? And by the way, so like up till now we are studying cloud computing. It might get a little boring. I can understand that. But the thing is, these concepts are really, really important for you to understand in order to get the like complete idea about it. So please bear me. The next is on-demand availability of resources. So how many of you have heard about Pokemon Go? Everyone, right? Everyone. Okay. So like in Pokemon Go, we cannot play the game without the internet and something like that. Why? Because we were playing the game. When we were playing the game, the requests were going to the server, and the server was responding back to that request. So server. So like imagine if there were 10,000 people playing it together, how much load there must have been onto the server. Getting it? So if the load on the server is high, then in that case, the server needs more capabilities, more configurations. So earlier what happened was when the Pokemon Go was released, there were only 10,000 users, then there were 20,000, then there were 50,000. They were growing at a slow pace. Then from 50,000 in just one day, they reached to 5 lakh, then 20 lakh, then a crore or something like that. I don't know. I'm just throwing a random number, but this is how the graph shooted up. This is exactly how it happened. So what do you think? Like the server that they had, they were increasing it slowly and slowly, gradually, because only 10,000 users were getting onto that game or getting onto that platform eventually. But it in just a day, it got so high. So the capability should be high as well. And in this case, what do you think? Like if they would have invested into the infrastructure earlier, and like if the users were like 50,000, 60,000 only, and they didn't increase, then the investment would have gone wrong, or wouldn't have any returns. They would have gone into loss. So there's a risk over there, right? If you buy the infrastructure. But when you're using infrastructure as a service, whenever you want to increase the configuration, or whenever you want more resources, you can have it. Whenever you want to decrease the resources, you can decrease them. That's scaling up, scaling down. But what I mean by that is availability of resources. When you're having your own server, you cannot you cannot have the resources available every time. You need to take care of that as well. But when you're using infrastructure as a service, the cloud vendor does that for you. Does that make sense for everyone? Okay. Then comes platform as a service. So let me tell you what a platform as a service is. Platform as a service is basically like getting the development and deployment tools over the internet, with the help of which you can develop the applications on top of the internet, or web applications on top of the internet, which are going to be compiled and executed and interpreted over there only. You do not need to actually install anything onto your computer. You do not need to actually download anything on your computer. You do not need to process anything onto your computer. That's what it is when it comes to platform as a service. So any one of you have ever used online compiler? I think every one of you, right? So online compiler is nothing but a platform as a service. Do you guys know about WordPress? Give me a second. Yeah. So like WordPress, how many of you know about it? What is it? Platform to, it's for PHP. You sure? I'm thinking. Exactly. So it's a platform with the help of which you can develop a website or a web application by just drag and drop tools. You do not actually have to write the code from scratch. That's what what WordPress is. So WordPress is also platform as a service. Do you need to download WordPress onto your computer in order to create the application? No, you do not need to do that. That's exactly what it is. And let's talk about Salesforce now. So whenever you want to, whenever I say Salesforce, you guys are like, okay, now it's for me. Uh, let's talk about Salesforce. So when you want to develop applications for Salesforce or on top of Salesforce, you're going to use like you're going to use a platform as a service, which we call as give me a second, force.com. So force.com is a platform with the help of which we can develop and deploy, we can develop the applications on top of what? Salesforce. That's what it is. Make sense to everyone? Good. And Salesforce is? Salesforce is company, and yeah, and which is popular because of it's a CRM, and it's only a CRM. Yeah, and it's a platform. It's a platform on top of which we can develop the applications, and we can develop the applications on top of Salesforce with the help of exactly, you got it. Yes, Salesforce is SaaS or PaaS. I'm going to come to that. It's SaaS. It is SaaS. Okay, now let's talk about the characteristics of PaaS. PaaS offers browser-based development environment. It allows the developers to create database and edit the application code either via application programming interface or point-and-click tools. So with the help of PaaS, we can develop applications online. We do not have to download and install anything. The APIs and everything with the help of APIs as well, with the help of point-and-click tools as well. That's what it is. Next, PaaS provides built-in security, scalability, and web service interfaces. So what I mean by built-in security and scalability. So when you're developing applications on top of PaaS, the security thing you do not need to take care of. The PaaS vendor, like in Salesforce case, it's force.com. In WordPress, there is. So WordPress will take care of the security and everything. You just have to focus on developing that application, not on anything else. And it's scalable as well. If the users gets increased, it is scalable. You can scale it up. If you want to create more functionalities on top of it, you can do that. It's scalable. And then there is web service interfaces. Anyone amongst you know what is a web service? No. Okay. Every one of you are using Instagram. Everyone, right? So this is Instagram's cloud, and this is your mobile phone. You guys are able to see this, right? Okay. This is your mobile phone. Yeah. So whenever you pull down, there's a refresh that happens, and there are new posts that comes up. So do you think that those posts are stored into your mobile phone? Where they are? On the cloud or onto the server. So there is a request that goes to the server that please send the posts like of the people who we are following, and then the server processes that request and sends it back onto our mobile phone and our mobile application. All what it does is sends the request and gets the response, and like parse that response and show it as posts onto the mobile application. That is exactly what it does. And the communication between the external application and the server happens with the help of web service. You got it? So this request, sending the request and getting the response back, happens with the help of web service. And for that, you need an interface. So all these PaaS platforms provide you a built-in web service interface, especially force.com, where you do not actually have to like create your own interface and create the APIs or web services on top of it. It is already given to you. You got it? Sure? Or should I repeat it? Anyone who wants me to repeat it? You? So I'm using this phone. I'm using Facebook, let's say. When I pull it down, there are new posts that comes up, right? These new posts are there onto Facebook server, right? So like if she's your friend, she's posting an image or a photograph or a video, whatever it is, onto Facebook. So it's getting stored onto the Facebook server. And now she's added into your friend list. So whenever you pull down, her post should be visible to you. But that's not stored onto your mobile phone, right? You're sending the request to the Facebook server that please send me the newest post or the recent posts. So this communication between your mobile application and the Facebook server happens with the help of a web service. Got it? That's all what it is. So it's basically a line. So like if we two are communicating with each other, there's a tower with the help of which we are communicating, right? So that's how it goes on over here as well. Anyone else who wants me to repeat it? Refreshing the page, right? Yeah, refreshing. Cool. Then next is also provide web service interfaces that allows us to connect the application outside the platform. So that's exactly what I explained to you, right? There's another application, Android or iPhone, whatever it is, and then there is Facebook server. We are communicating it with the help of web server. Then next, software as a service. So to explain you software as a service, I'll simply take example of two applications which I think you all must have used: Microsoft Word, Google Docs. So Microsoft Word is an application or a software. Google Docs is a software as a service. Let me explain you the difference between both of them. To use Microsoft Word, you need to install it, right? And all what you're doing onto Microsoft Word is getting processed onto your system or onto your computer. And the data which you create or the documents that you create with the help of Microsoft Word get stored into your system. That's what happens when it comes to softwares or applications which you install. Now let's talk about Google Docs. To access Google Docs, all what you need is an internet and a browser connection. You do not need to install it. And yeah, what else? The documents which you create with the help of it are getting stored onto your drive only. Though you can download if you want to, but they're getting stored onto your drive, which you can access from anywhere, from any device. So that's what a software as a service is. Getting it? Nothing else. So if I'll ask you that LinkedIn is what amongst these three? So every application, by the way, every service out there comes under these three categories. Like not under these three categories, under one of these three categories. So if I'll ask you, LinkedIn is a platform as a service, software as a service, or infrastructure as a service. So raise your hands if you say platform as a service. LinkedIn. Okay, raise your hands if you say it's a software as a service. It's a software as a service. If you say it's a infrastructure as a service. No. So it's software as a service. It's nothing but a software. Are you writing any code on top of LinkedIn? You're not doing that, right? So it's not platform as a service. There's some messages I need to. Oops. SaaS. No. Okay, so let me give you another example. Amazon AWS is what? Infrastructure as a service. Okay. Google Cloud Platform. Infrastructure as a service. And what else? Instagram. Platform as a service. Software as a service. Because it's a software. Are you writing any code on top of it? So it's a software. That's all what it is. If I'll take another example, what else? This Zoom. This is what Zoom, with the help of which we are having this online class. Software as a service. It's just a software. I'm not writing any code. I'm not creating anything on top of it. I'm not deploying anything. So it's a simple software which we do not have to actually download onto our system, which we are like accessing with the help of a browser and an internet connection. That's all what it is. Getting it? Perfect. So this is what it is. Now let's talk about software as a service. Salesforce is software as a service because Salesforce is used by who? Business users. What happened? Salesforce. Who uses Salesforce? Businesses. And in businesses, there are people who are working, which we call as business users. So they're using a software in order to increase the productivity of their work. That's all what it is for, right? So Salesforce is what? Software as a service. When it comes to the product, it is a company, no doubt. It is a CRM, no doubt. And that CRM lies under software as a service. Getting it? That's all what it is. Okay, now let's talk about the characteristics that are there. Available on demand. You do not actually have to wait for the CD or anything to download it and then install it. You can just use it on the go. That's all what you need for most of the software is like an account onto that onto that platform or onto that software. The software are maintained by the vendor rather than where they are running, and hence making it cost effective. So whenever there are softwares or applications installed into our system, there is a support as well. So we can call the support, and whatever problem we are facing, that support is reliable to help us out with that. That doesn't happen with the people in India, especially because we do not buy the software. And if you do not buy the software, then what happens is we're not eligible to access the support. So you might not be aware of it, but this actually happens if you buy the software. That if you bought a software, then you can actually call the support and get the support from them. That's what you can do. Make sense? So if the software is managed and hosted onto the vendor's side, then in that case, you do not actually have to worry. Why? Because it's managed and maintained over there. And if it is managed and maintained over there, then does not need to be a support team working for it, right? No support team is required to help the people, because if there is a problem over there, there's going to be problem with each and every one of the client. And if there's no problem over there, everyone will be able to use it easily without having any problem. So that's what the advantage of using software as a service is. Next, license to the software may be subscription based or usage based, and it is built on recurring basis. When it comes to Salesforce, it charges you per user per month. That means if in your organization there are 10 people, Salesforce will charge for 10 people per month. If there are 15 people, it will charge for 15 people per month. So there are user licenses over that. Getting it? And when it comes to another SaaS applications, it might be sometimes a fixed price for an year or for a month or for it depends on the vendor actually. So if I'm selling a software, it's my choice whether I want to charge them every month or whether I want to charge them at once for lifetime or at once for a year. It's my choice, and I can make it free as well. So it depends, right? I'm going to tell you how Salesforce charge later in this module, but yeah, this is how it goes on. Scale up or down on demand. So like if you take example of LinkedIn, on LinkedIn there is a premium account as well. You know about that gold IN thing. So that's a premium account. And if you want to go for a premium account, you just have to pay 1900 or something like that INR, 1900 INR to get that premium account. And if you do not want it anymore, you can scale it up back down. But once you buy a software and imagine if you have bought Adobe Premiere Pro to edit the videos and everything. So Adobe Premiere Pro, once you have bought it, even if you want to go back to Adobe Premiere only, you cannot do that because you have paid the money and you've got the bigger version of it. So, or yeah, that's what it is. But in software as a service, you can easily scale up up the services that you're getting or the features that you're getting with that software or that application, and you can easily scale down the features that you're getting with that application. That's what it is. Next, automatically upgraded and updated. And there is one more thing. All users are running same version of the software. How many of you have gone to a place to get the documents printed or get your reports for the college and everything printed, and the formatting got disturbed? Did it happen? To like raise your hand if it happened with you. Like you got a report, you went to that printer wala bhaiya, and you got that printed, and the formatting got disturbed. Did it happen? So why do you think this happened? Version difference. So you were running 2010, and that guy who was printing it, he was running 2003 Microsoft Word. So there was a version mismatch over there. Why? Because he didn't upgraded it and you did. So because of that, there were some problems of formatting and everything. But when you're using software as a service, the application is upgraded and updated automatically. You do not have to upgrade it on your end. So like if you're using an application, if you're using WhatsApp onto your mobile phone, you have to upgrade it in order to get the new features upgraded onto your mobile phone. But imagine if you're using an application on a web browser, if you're using Facebook on a web browser, if the new feature comes in automatically, it is upgraded to you. You do not actually have to do any effort or have to do anything in order to upgrade that. This is exactly what happens, right? So like this eliminates the errors which we get because of the version mismatch, and all the users are running on the same version of the software. This is what it is. Make sense to every one of you? Perfect. Great. Then there is offer share data model. So if you guys want to work together onto a same document, you cannot do that on Microsoft Word, but you can do that on Google Docs. There are ways to do that on Microsoft Word as well, but it's difficult comparative to Google Docs. Have you ever tried like editing the document at the same time? You and your friend and your colleague are working together and yeah, editing the document or working onto a same document together. Have you done that? So that's shared data model. And why you're able to do that is because the file is stored onto the cloud instead of onto the client side. Make sense? Next, this is what it is. Awareness of technology to the end user. So you guys are who? You guys are who? Are you the end users? So yesterday I had a conversation about the I had a conversation about the profiles. So in which profile do you lie? Admin or developer, right? IaaS X Uber. Yeah. So what was I saying? Profile. So which profile you lie under? Admin or developer? Are you the end user? Who is the end user? Business user, the person who is using that application, right? So they are not aware of each and every technology or each and everything that is underlying. So do you know on which platform or which processor Facebook is running? No? So in which language or in which platform or in which programming language it is compiled, the code is compiled? Because you're the end user over that, right? So it's the same thing that happens to your end users as well. They're not aware of the underlying technologies. All what they're aware of, how to use this software or how to use this application. That's all what it is. So these are the end users. So they've got some idea about, or like, yeah, some idea about the SaaS. SaaS is what? Software as a service, the application, how to use the application. When it comes to PaaS, they haven't got much idea about it. Who got the idea about the PaaS? Developers. Developers are the ones who use PaaS. When it is about IaaS, architects who want to use those infrastructure in order to develop a platform or deploy a platform on top of it and then run the software on top of it. That's what it is. So there is abstraction, you know, there's a lot of abstraction that is going on in today's world. And that's exactly that is an ease for every end user. Earlier, whenever you used to buy a software or something like that, it used to say you need to have Windows 7 or XP or Vista. You need to have this much of RAM, this much of this, and this much of that. Nowadays, it's not like that. All what you need is an internet and browser connection. Internet connection and a browser. That's all what you need. Make sense? That's it. This is force.com, I would say. Maybe there might be a problem with it, but it's definitely not PaaS, it's SaaS. Salesforce is combined into two things actually. As I told you earlier as well, force.com and Salesforce are one and the same thing for people, but I'll tell you that there is a thin line between that this is force.com and this is salesforce.com. But you'll not be able to realize when I am onto force.com and when I am onto salesforce.com. On salesforce.com, you can, when you're using the pre-built application, it's SaaS. And when you are developing or customizing, developing new applications or customizing the existing applications, it's PaaS. And that PaaS part is force.com. All right? Good. Okay, now next is anything as a service. Okay, so by the way, do not say this term in front of anyone. They'll laugh at you. This is the term created by me. So there were a lot of terms going around earlier about business as a service, strategy as a service, database as a service, this as a service, that as a service. They all anyway lie under one of the three that we have discussed earlier: infrastructure as a service, platform as a service, or software as a service. But even if it doesn't lie onto that, you can put it into anything as a service or XaaS. That's what it is. And please don't say to anyone, this is a disclaimer that I'm putting over here. Please do not use this anything as a service in front of anyone. But yeah, there are a lot of other things that you get. Identity as a service. So like, do you need to create different credentials nowadays for every new application, or you can sign up with Google or Facebook? You can do that, right? So Facebook is working as identity as a service over there. It is proving your identity that you're an authenticated person. So that's one of the cloud services as well. So in which we should put it. That's That's difficult. Like, so we cannot put it into software as a service. We cannot put it into platform. We cannot put it into infrastructure. So that's the reason we have created this one. That's all what it is. And it doesn't make sense. Like you can just ignore it. Like, yeah, QR code. QR code for anything as a service. Yeah, you can say that. Next is differences between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. So here's a simple diagram. There's not a single word written onto this topic. This diagram is sufficient to explain you what is the difference between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. Make sure to understand it. For identity. Yeah, this is what it is. QR code. With web.whatsapp, there's QR code that works. Okay. Then comes differences between IaaS, PaaS, and SaaS. And over here with this diagram, we'll be able to identify what exactly is the difference. Traditional IT. So in traditional IT, that means 10 years, 15 years back, when there was no cloud computing or nothing like similar to that was there. We used to take care as an application owner. We used to take care of networking, storage, servers, virtualization, OS, middleware, runtime, data applications, everything. We have to take care of that. And that was the reason creating software or building softwares was very, very expensive. Very, very expensive. You need to, yeah, there was no chance you could create an application without going to a VC and getting the fund in order to have that infrastructure. But in today's time, you do not actually need much money to create an application or a software or anything. You do not need that much money. Why? Because of the cloud computing services that we are getting in today's time. And let's see what benefits there are in that. So when we go for IaaS, an example of IaaS is example. Exactly. AWS, Amazon AWS. So when we are using Amazon AWS, who's going to manage networking, storage, servers, virtualization, OS? Amazon AWS. And what we need to manage is middleware, runtime, data, and application. This is on our end. Everything rest we are going to manage. And all of the things, networking, storage, servers, virtualization, everything, Amazon AWS is going to manage. This is what it is. When it comes to PaaS, so who use a PaaS? Developers, right, to develop the application. And when you're developing an application, all what you need to take care of how the application will work and how the application will function and how the data will be stored. Only do these two things. So over here, if you can see, we manage only this and rest all is managed by the vendor, the PaaS vendor. When it is forge.com, it is managed by forge.com. When it is something else, it is managed by someone else. Then comes SaaS. SaaS is what? Software as a service. So when you're using Facebook, do you actually have to manage anything? So that's exactly what it is. Everything is managed by vendor. You just have to use it. That's what it is. So this is the difference. This is the thin line difference or the major difference between IaaS, PaaS, SaaS, and traditional IT. Got it? Any questions? Any? IaaS once again. So imagine like if you want to create your own platform, or if you want to deploy your own platform, and on top of that platform you want to create an application. So instead of having a platform as a service, you're going to take infrastructure as a service and then deploy your own platform and then use it whichever way you want to use it. So like let's take an example of force.com. So on force.com, the applications that you're going to deploy are going to run onto force.com server only, and yeah, everything like the OS and everything is going to be managed by force.com. But what you want is you want like a hardware. On that hardware, you want to run Linux or yeah, I mean Linux, Ubuntu, or whatever OS you want to, and then you want to deploy your own networking and everything. Not exactly networking, but you want to connect different nodes together, and you want to use it for data analysis or for big data processing and everything. Then in that case, you're going to have the infrastructure as a service, and the things that you can manage in infrastructure as a service are middleware, runtime, data, and applications. These all things you can manage, but the rest all, virtualization, servers, storage, networking, this will be managed by whom? By the vendor. And who's the vendor? Example of IaaS, Amazon AWS. Google, yeah, Google, you can say Google Cloud Platform. Google has got Google again a company. So Google has got different things. Google has got its own CRM as well, G Suite. But yeah, Google Cloud Platform is where we can get the infrastructure. Make sense? Everyone? Any questions? Anyone? No? Good with it?